Hey there, Andrew and fellow young grasshoppers. I swear this has never happened to me before. And that's actually going to be the kind of AKA name of this episode. If you couldn't tell, what happened was in part one of episode 30, for whatever reason, the recording dropped. And yeah, that's never happened before. I usually record these one day before I post them, but I record them live. And I was going through and I put timestamps in there so it's easy to jump from person to person or topic to topic. And I was putting it in, I noticed, wow, there's a big chunk missing that I recorded for Andrew. So hopefully this time it takes, and we'll just pick up right where we left off. All right. So Andrew, I know this is your first experience with me. Bear with me here. Technical difficulties. It's live TV, or at least live online TV. So what are you gonna do? Anyways, so let's pick up right where we left off on the questions. How many minutes do you spend standing/walking per day? Which Andrew answers 3+ hours. And almost more impressively, the next question is how many hours do you spend sitting/stagnant per day? He also answers 3 hours per day, to which I would have to respond, Andrew, keep up the good work. And if in fact you do join me and my fellow ninjas and ninjettes inside the dojo, I would absolutely love to have you on as a guest co-host to one of our weekly live trainings. We actually have one coming up tomorrow if you're watching this Friday. So Saturday, whatever the date is, April 18th, 2015. That we're doing, and we already have some stuff planned for, but maybe even the next week. Would love to have you on, and hopefully you can share with the group how it is you achieve that 1-to-1 ratio of static and sedentariness to dynamic and active, that 1-to-1 ratio, because I think that's good. Even better is if you're moving around more and are more active and are upright or sitting on the ground than you are in a chair type of situation. But 1-to-1, that's really good. Maybe some of the ways, and I'm just speculating here because I don't know, maybe you work from a standing desk or are, working from the floor. Maybe you take calls while standing and walking around and have walking meetings. Maybe you have a treadmill desk. I don't know, but would love to know, how it is you achieve that. I have my own types of tips and tricks that I share with the group, but I would love to know yours, and I'm sure everyone else inside the group would as well. All right, so kudos and keep up the good work on that. Let's see, how many times do you work out? Andrew says 5. For how long? 90 minutes. So Andrew, something else I'm kind of curious to learn more about is what type of training, what type of workouts do you do? What are you practicing for? And what is your end goal? Are you an athlete? Are you trying to build muscle, kind of bodybuilding style, going for strength training? Just curious as what your end goal is. And also, I'm curious to know when people tell me that they're working out that much, because I would say for the average person, 90 minutes, 5 days out of the week is more than the average person, which is neither bad nor good. I'm always curious to know, though, I say time-wise, it's more than what most people struggle to get half an hour in a day. So if someone's doing 90 minutes, the question that always kind of arises in my mind is, are they, or Andrew, are you doing it because you enjoy working out that much, or is it because you feel obligated to? Now, if it's the prior, if you enjoy it, and again, if you're maybe training for a sport that you're really passionate about, soccer or whatever, that's great. But unfortunately, a lot of times when I find people who are training, more than 30 minutes, it's not because they want to, it's because they feel like they're obligated to. Oh, I have to maintain this proper weight or body composition that I'm at, and I just have to, right? That's the only way to do it. And which really saddens me, because it's like, no, that's not. And you can get much more out of shorter, high intensity, 7, 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes max, but like 15 minutes of high intensity, shorter duration workout than you can lower intensity but longer duration type of workout. So I'm just kind of curious to learn more about what it is you're working towards and how you're going about doing it. The other thing too is taking in consideration the And sorry, I'm just looking at the little live thing to make sure it's still live, so this doesn't happen again. I'm gonna be like scared of this, always the recording drop now, but it says it's live. So the other thing that kind of would cause some concern is the questions that that I asked earlier about your foundations of health and how you answered them. Give me 1 second. There's a little family email message saying, "Hey, sweetie, can you email mom dad's address?" Anyway, sorry about that. Again, live TV. So, sorry, I lost my train of thought there. Yeah, that you work out that much and the answers that you gave to the other questions. If you're working out 5 days a week, 90 minutes each, and on some of those other foundations of health, for example, like foods, if you're consuming some of those foods, and you said you're interested in learning, what foods are causing some inflammatory response in your food, that's robbing away, that's taken away from the results that you're trying to achieve by working out that much and that often. And so my concern for you, and you might be doing things that might be counter this, but just from the information I have, my concern is that you might be overtraining. All right. And again, that's just going off the information that I have. A really good way, really great resource or tool you can use to figure this out is known as heart rate variability training, HRV training, which I mentioned in an earlier episode. Oh, I'm sorry, earlier this episode. It seems like a last episode because there was part 1, which I recorded yesterday. Ugh, it's crazy. But that will give you a strong indicator each morning when you wake up as a measurement of stress, of how your body is doing in terms of recovery from the previous day and the previous stimulus, stress, or workout that you subjected your body to. So definitely look into that. I go a little bit deeper and wider in that in the optimizing your stress module. All right. Let's see. Moving on here. Oh, maybe not moving on here. And to anyone else watching, again, I definitely believe in, using what's known as the minimum effective dose. If you're trying to achieve a certain fitness goal and it takes you, for example, 10 repetitions to trigger the stimulus needed for a muscle to grow bigger or to get stronger or for your body to adapt a certain range of motion, then anything more than that is just kind of a waste. You're just doing more for more's sake, not for actual results. All right. There's a point of diminishing returns. So as much as I respect hard work. I think hard work has been pushed too much towards the forefront. And I tell people, let's leave hard work, working hard, as a last resort. Let's work smart and then work hard. But first, make sure that the hard work that you're doing, the time, the effort that you're putting in towards exercising, towards working out, you're going to reap the most rewards for it. It's the most efficient means of going about it. All right. And, again, for anyone else who isn't working to be like a competing athlete, whether it be high school, college, professional, if you're 80% or above optimal in each of the 6 other foundations of health, breathing, hydration, sleep, nutrition, stress, and movement, you really don't need to do more than about 10 to 30 minutes of exercise per day, if that, if you just want to, when you go to the doctor, make sure all your, biomarkers come back as good to excellent. All right. You really don't need that much. And so, again, and this is a big difference between people who exercise as a joy versus feeling they have to exercise. Those that feel like they have to exercise, I always recommend that you focus less on exercise and more on living better, because life, exercise may take up an hour or 90 minutes of your, let's say an hour of your day, but what you do the other 23 hours of the day has much bigger impact and influence on your overall well-being. So focus on what you do 23 hours of the day more than what you do the 1 hour of the day. Because even if your intentions are something really good, like I'm gonna go exercise for an hour because it's really good for me, even no matter your intentions, your body is going to adapt and respond to the 23 hours, what you do the 23 hours out of each day, more than it will what you intend for it to do that 1 hour day, which is, workout or exercise. Let's see. I asked Andrew, how conducive is your environment, things like work, home, peer group, etc., to you achieving your goals? On a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being ideal, 0 being not very, he says 6. And I always recommend people, modify and edit your surroundings, including things like work, home, the people you hang out with, the things you watch, the things you listen to, all that, right? We're all a cumulative sum of what we're exposed to every day in our environment. And try to make your environment as conducive as possible to what you're trying to achieve. So, for example, if you're trying to avoid gluten, dairy, eggs, or some of the other high inflammatory foods that we talked about earlier, then simply don't keep those foods or foods with that contain those ingredients in your house or at your work. Make it so it's not convenient for you to have them. Sure, you can go to the store and buy it, but that's many more steps, and you're far less likely to eat those foods if they're not around you. All right, so that's one example. There's many more, as I'm sure you can think of, but that's one way that you could modify your environment to be supportive of what you're trying to achieve. Let's see, what is your general mindset? And Andrew says optimistic and overwhelmed. Oops, sorry, I went a little blurry there for a second. That's great that you're optimistic. That's a great mindset, that's a great feeling. And I totally sympathize with you about being overwhelmed, as well as with anybody who feels overwhelmed. And it's very easy to get that way because, unfortunately, the majority of health info in the world is made up of misinformation, marketing, and social memes. Basically, if you're going to put under the umbrella of, well, bullshit, really. And it's sad. And it's very easy, just Google any Google health fitness or losing weight or diabetes, and there's so much that comes up, and it's very easy to get overwhelmed and confused. And so by all means, I always tell people, it's usually a good idea to listen to health experts, whether they be doctors, chiropractors, PTs, postural alignment therapists, Optimize Self, Dojo Senseis. It's usually a good idea to listen to them. And I include myself in them, although I don't like to refer to myself as expert or guru, so that's why I nickname myself Sensei. But it is always a bad idea to do what experts say blindly. You have to take what they or I say, put it through your own kind of common sense filter, do your own due diligence, cross-reference with something else that you believe to be your truth, something that you believe in, and see if it makes sense for you. And then you have to do it. So what I would recommend is to everybody listening and watching, and Andrew, is at a certain point you have to stop looking for answers from outside yourself and start looking within. And remember that knowledge and knowing something, knowing and not doing is practically the same as not knowing. And there's a big difference between knowing, did, and doing. A lot of times people will, I'll make some suggestion like, oh, you want to drink half your body weight in ounce of water. People say, oh yeah, I know that. And I said, great. So how much water did you drink today? I go, I don't know. And it's like, well, but you said you know that. Oh yeah, but I don't really keep track of it. And it's like, okay, well, you're not doing it. So it's practically the same as not knowing it. Why even recall that information if you're not going to do it? I always joke around and say, that's great, you have your water bottle, but guess what? Unless this goes in here, it doesn't do your body any good. You can't just have your water bottle next to you and expect your body to somehow gain hydration. It has to get outside of the bottle, in your mouth, and into your body. So that's just one example. And then you have to continue doing it. And I always make reference to Rory Vaden's rent axiom, which goes, success is never owned, it is only rented, and the rent is due each and every day. And you can replace success with health, fitness, financial well-being, a healthy relationship, anything. But again, it's important that, knowing is step one, and then doing is step two. But each and every day we reset and we got to make those healthy choices, and ideally you turn those choices into habits and routines so you don't have to make those choices every day. I actually just was writing someone, and I said, one of the healthiest choices you can make is to make less choices, meaning which put together a system or program for you, like I've done in the Optimize Self system, and then you set it up and you just do it. So that way you don't have to use as much energy making decisions on what is or is not healthy. You kind of make it once and then you automate it. Okay. There's one other example I was going to use there about the drinking water. About the rent axiom, actually, about success is never owned. It is only rented, and the rent is due each and every day. So, a lot of people will say, oh yeah, I tried this thing or I tried that thing and it's not working for me now. Like, I'm not very flexible and I'm not very good at stretching. Well, then I would ask, how often do you stretch, or how often do you mobilize? How often do you try to be flexible? Oh, well, I don't. Well, that's why you're not. It sounds kind of silly and very common sense, but unfortunately, common sense also is not common doing. And I said, you wouldn't expect to go to work for a day or two, go, whew, I worked really hard, and then be paid forever for the rest of your life. No, you got to go in and you get, 1 or 2 checks a week, usually for most people's job, and you have to go into work. Each day starts over new and you got to do the work. Same thing is applied to your health. And also, everybody keep in mind that clarity comes from doing, not thinking. So take it from someone who I love research and cross-referencing and all that, but you're never going to get clear on something if you just keep researching. Actually, it dilutes your thoughts. You'll become more unclear, because for every thing that you go, here's a reason for this, you're going to probably find at least one, if not more, reasons against that, and vice versa. But where you start to really become clear on things is when you go, okay, I'm going to take this, I'll cross-reference with 1, maybe 2 other things. If it makes sense, I'm going to actually try it. You do a little experiment. You start small, and then you build from there, and that's how you gain clarity on something. All right. Let's move on. Is there anything else you think, believe is contributing to holding you back from being your optimized self? Andrew says, mostly just the pain / discomfort / tightness I experience on the left side of my lower body. To which I would say, I would love to help out more with like a postural evaluation, but I don't have any photos to go off of. So maybe, Andrew, if you can send me some postural pics from the front, back, left, and right sides, I can give you more specific advice. But until then, I'm going to refer you to a video post I did a while back. You might have already seen it, but it's called "What Condition Is Your Posture In?" And I'll put it in the show notes below in the YouTube description under mentioned links. So it's "What Condition Is Your Posture In?" I'll put the link there. And you are definitely, from your description in the Optimize Self test you took, you're condition 2, as well as I am most of the time. So use the condition 2 routine. It's really good for asymmetrical postures. Okay. And then if you do join the dojo, I would definitely refer you to looking at the routines in the Optimize Self First Aid Kit, as well as the routines in the Correcting Common Posture Deviations section. And then, like I said, coming online with me, kind of as a co-host or as a guest, whatever you want to refer to it as, whichever sounds more fun, really. But coming online with me live, and then we can do a live postural evaluation, and we can do some functional tests and kind of troubleshoot and put our heads together and figure out what precisely is causing this type of postural imbalance, and you can learn from it, and others watching can learn from it as well. All right, let's see. I asked, what holds you accountable and supports you in your health, fitness, wellness endeavors? And Andrew says, myself, might I add, with an exclamation point. To which I would respond, choosing and taking care of yourself is great. I think that's phenomenal. But it's important to remember that no single individual has the time or as much time or energy as 20, 200, 2,000, et cetera, people have to support themselves. Meaning that, and investors get this, using other people's money, or more importantly, using other people's time. Well, we, Andrew and I and everybody else watching, we all have 24 hours in a day, right? And we all choose how we spend that time, whether it's more at work, working on our professions, learning something new, spending time with our family, et cetera, et cetera. a good amount of my day is learning things about health, fitness, wellness, lifestyle design, all that stuff. So I have the luxury of being able to allocate a good chunk of my time to that. Now, a lot of people don't. If you're a doctor, a lawyer, you have some type of job, a profession, a business that isn't health related, you have to go do that. And then let's say you have a family, you're spending time with them, and then whatever time is left over, it's kind of like hobby time that you invest in yourself. And so, one, you don't have as much time as, for example, I do. But even me, where I make it my job, my business, my life to know this stuff, I can't compete with, two people who even know half as much as me, because together they have more time to learn and gain that knowledge, but more importantly, put into act and gain experience from it. So there's definitely always power in numbers. And that's another point. One of the founding reasons I put together the Optimize Self Dojo is so that basically we're crowdsourcing our collective knowledge and, more importantly, experience, so that way we can learn, hey, you had this issue, okay, what did you do and what worked and what didn't work, and let's compare it to what this person did, and we start to find the patterns. Now, could you do that by yourself? Absolutely. As someone who kind of did, I wouldn't recommend it. Spent 13 plus years, spent tens of thousands of dollars, spent tens of thousands of hours. There's no need for anybody to do that, especially with the way that technology, allows for us to connect nowadays. And we can leverage off each other's time and leverage off each other's experience. And this is another kind of founding purpose of not only Optimize Self Dojo, but the Optimize Self Ninja and the show is taking the best of what healthcare has to offer. And I know everybody likes to poo-poo over healthcare, but I think there are some good parts of it. And then taking the best of what self-care has to offer. And it's not perfect either. A lot of people say you got to take care of yourself. And I definitely believe that's true. But what self-care is missing out on is it's just focused on you. But when you take the best, what healthcare has is people taking care of people who aren't willing to take responsibility for their health. And you take self-care, which are people who are willing to take responsibility for their own healthcare, but they're looking out for just them. You take healthcare, you take self-care, you put them both together, and what do you get? You get welfare. And I'm not talking about welfare as in food stamps, but if you look up welfare, it's community care. And that's why in my emails, when I sign off, take care and be a good human, what I mean is take care of yourself so that you could help others, so that you can help your brother, your sister, your mother, your father, your friend, your fellow ninja or ninjette, your neighbor, your coworker, et cetera, et cetera. I think you get the point. But be the best version of yourself possible so that you can lead and motivate and influence the person to the left and to the right of you. All right. So, hopefully you get that. Again, I think it's great, Andrew, that you hold yourself accountable. A lot of people do have trouble with that. But I think it could also go the other way. A lot of times, if you try to, they say no one man or woman is an island. That's very true. And not only, I think from a philosophical standpoint, but also from a scientific standpoint, there's been tons and tons and tons of studies that show when it comes to weight loss or trying to beat some type of lifestyle disease like diabetes or cancer, trying to gain muscle, whatever it is, whatever goal. It doesn't even have to be health-wise. Could be financially, could be trying to get through book clubs. Anytime that you're a part of a group that's going to hold you accountable and also support you if you make mistakes, and they're going to help you back up and help you make consistent progress, that not only that individual but the group overall makes more progress than they do if they were alone. Okay. Let's see. Dun, dun, dun. I ask, what would you like to see in your inbox from optimizeself.ninja? Andrew says, I loved all the content I've seen from Justin Archer, so just more of the same, I guess. To which I would have to say, Andrew, thank you very much. I'm happy to hear that you've enjoyed the content that I've made thus far, and I'm always striving to provide you with more and more value and be of continual service. And I always tell people, in order to do do this, I always need people to step into the ring with me. And step one is taking the Optimize Self test, which Andrew, you've already done. So thank you very much. And I definitely want to acknowledge, you taking that, you having the initiative to take the Optimize Self test. Really, the next step. And I tell people I definitely sell from the toes rather than the heels on this one, is to join the Optimize Self Dojo. And the reason being, and I always want to make sure I'm totally transparent on this, because every once in a while I've had someone say, hey, come a little hard off on this thing, on selling this or that, and it's only because I sincerely believe it's where I could help the most. With the exception of the retainers and the one-on-one sessions I offer, this is where I can help you and others the most effectively and the most efficiently. I have the retainers, but they range anywhere from $750 a month to, a couple $1,000s a year. One-on-one sessions, $300 for an individual session, which usually is like 60 to 90 minutes long. And those are great, and you get a lot from them. You definitely get minimum 10 times worth the value. But I also understand that that's not in everybody's budget. And so why I put together the dojo is because instead of one-on-one, which isn't really scalable, right? There's only one of me, and there's only so much time in the day that I have and that the people I'm working with have. With the dojo, it's now one on many, and it's scalable. So really there's three components to it. You have the built-in accountability and support from myself and the other dojo members. You have also the ongoing trainings. We do weekly live trainings every Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, which, like I said, you're more than welcome to join. Come on live with me. We can talk about whatever it is you want to discuss and problem solve together. They're also just a lot of fun. And then also access to the Optimize Self arsenal, because my fear always on the show is, it's still not perfect, but what the Optimize Self test has allowed is, I think content is fine, but like I said, in health, fitness, and wellness, there's such an abundance and overwhelm of information that I think content for content's sake not only doesn't help, it actually hurts people. There's 5,000 things to do, I'm not going to do any of it. And instead, I think people, there's the saying, especially in online business and marketing online, that content is king. Well, if content is king, then context is God. And I really don't want to put out content that is just something that I think is important that other people should know. I want to talk about, for example, Andrew, you think these things are important? Great. I want to reference them because you think they're important. Or Rob earlier in today's episode, he's asking about these particular things. And so that's how I'm actually, deciding what I talk about in each of these shows is by viewers sending in their questions, preferably taking the Optimize Self test. And even though I give the information, I may reference something like, oh, there's this great tool, there's this great thing. But as I've started to develop the Optimize Self system and put certain things in order, almost like reading a book, you would want to read it from beginning to end. You wouldn't start with chapter 5, then go to chapter 2, then chapter 8, then chapter 1. I mean, you could, but it'd be really confusing, kind of like, the Star Wars episode series, what is it, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, and now we're going to have 7, 8, 9, which I'm very excited about, by the way. I don't know, Andrew, if you're a Star Wars fan. See, and you get fun tangents too. But there's a certain order that I believe, a certain sequence that is important. And so I'm always afraid that if I suggest something to someone, I give them some advice, then that they may take that out of context and go, oh, I did this thing and it only worked for this. And it's like, well, did you do these other things that are kind of, you kind of need to do to pre-qualify to do this other thing? Oh, no, I didn't. And that's really, that touches upon the value of what's included in the Optimize Self arsenal, all the resources, guides, and video tutorials, along with tools that makes it simpler and easier for you to implement what you've learned inside the dojo and all the other guides and resources inside the Optimize Self arsenal. So, that would be the next step, Andrew, and anyone else watching that is going, okay, this is good. What's the next step from here? It would be the dojo. And let's see, Andrew, let's see. Oh, I asked Andrew, as I ask anybody, have you shared OptimizeSelf.ninja with any friends, family, coworkers, the cat, and he says no, but I promise I will. And so, Andrew, I'd love to hear, who do you plan to share it with? How will you introduce them to it? And what can I do to help? If they have any questions for me, what can I do to help? What can I add, take away, modify? Always looking to improve. So I definitely welcome the constructive criticism. So Andrew, thank you very much. Sorry too about the slight inconvenience of the two-parter. Like I said, I swear this has never happened before. It's technical difficulties. What are you going to do? Anyways, Andrew, thank you very much for taking the Optimize Self test and hanging in there with me. And I cannot wait to hear from you again, and hopefully see you inside the Optimize Self dojo. All right. And you can, Andrew, anyone else, you guys can learn more about what's included inside the dojo just by going to optimizeself.ninja. You'll see this episode and the other 29 other episodes that you could watch from the video player. And then if you just scroll down, keep scrolling down, and you'll see descriptions of everything that's included inside the dojo. All right. And with that, I'm going to grab some water, and we will close out this episode. All right. Take care, Andrew. All I can say is thank goodness for timestamps, or this would be really hard for people to find their way around. And God bless anybody who has actually watched this thing from beginning to end. I don't even watch them from beginning to end. But like I said, thank goodness for timestamps, so you can jump around to whatever it is you want to watch. So as I bid you fair young grasshoppers adieu, I will leave you with this. If you haven't already done so, please go take the Optimize Self test. If you go to optimizeself.ninja, you can click on the big red orangey, it's kind of orange-red button below the video player. It says click here to take the Optimize Self test, and a few other words. Click on the button, put in your email, and a link to the test will be sent to you. That way I can, basically by filling that out, you're helping me help you, because I have more information to go off of than if you just emailed or messaged me a question. I love to answer those too, but obviously I can answer them more specifically when I have more information to go off of, like Robin and Andrew on this episode. Also, if you're watching this on YouTube, please like the video and share it with anyone that you think could benefit from this information. Share it on your favorite social media platform, or share it as a link in an email. I know they would appreciate you thinking about them. I would appreciate you spreading the word and sharing the love. And last but not least, if you haven't already done so, go ahead and click the subscribe button on the Optimize Self Ninja YouTube channel. That way you can stay up to date on all the recent happenings and going-ons inside the Optimize Self ecosystem. That was my pantomime for a dome, I guess, or an ecosystem. And if you're watching this on optimizeself.ninja, if you're wondering how do you get to see this on YouTube, if you just put your mouse, your cursor over the video player, at the very top you'll see the title appear. And if you click on that, depending on your web browser settings, it will open up either a new tab or a window, and you can see this on YouTube, and you'll see the show notes, also what YouTube refers to as description area, and you'll see the timestamps, which are hyperlinked to certain areas of the episode, as well as all the mentioned links. All right. And I think we already talked about the Optimize Self Dojo enough. It's cool. It's awesome. Of course, I'm biased as my group, but there's a lot of cool, awesome people in there. If you're interested in just basically being the absolute best version of yourself possible, so that you can go out and positively influence and motivate others, and then together we can create just an awesome, healthy, happy, fulfilled world. That sounds good to you, then definitely check it out over on optimizeself.ninja. And if you, for whatever reason, the dojo, you think the dojo isn't for you, or the one-on-one sessions or the retainers, but you like the show, you want to support the show, then just go to optimizeself.ninja / is that / I don't know which way you're looking at me, but the / the one by the shift key, / support. I'll put that in the show notes, and you can make a contribution as little as $1, as much as really whatever. It could be a one-time fee, it could be a monthly recurring, any little bit I appreciate, as well does everyone else who watches the show. and that is part of the dojo. All right, and I think that is it. Now I'm going to go finish putting this together and getting this email out. This has been one crazy, long, awkward, different, fun type of episode, but thank you if you're watching for sticking in there with me, and I cannot wait to see you guys inside the next video. All right, until then, take care, be a good human.